Legacy Precious Metals is the company that I trust to give you good and patient counsel for investing in your retirement. The Biden administration has caused a financial crisis, and they have no clue how to fix it. Oil prices have skyrocketed, and when oil prices go up, not only do your expenses go up, but the cost of transportation and shipping spikes, leading the prices of goods to rise. And we are already seeing record inflation. That's the last thing that we need. Our economy is in trouble, and you need to take steps to protect yourself. If all your money is tied up in stocks, bonds, and traditional markets, you may be vulnerable. So gold is one of the very best ways to protect your retirement. No matter what happens, you own your own gold. It's real, it's physical, and it's always been valuable since the dawn of time. Call Legacy Precious Metals today at 866-528-1903 or visit them online at legacypminvestments.com. That's legacypminvestments.com, where you can download the free investor's guide. You can also go to my Facebook page, Jenna Ellis. I am a public figure on Facebook, and I just posted yesterday a really great interview with the president of Legacy Precious Metals, who is discussing why you need to start your retirement account even if you're in your 20s or 30s. There is always a great time to protect your retirement and invest, just like you want to protect your health over the long term. So go to Legacy Precious Metals at legacypminvestments.com or call 866-528-1903.
As a constitutional law attorney, former senior legal advisor, and personal counsel to President Donald J. Trump, Jenna Ellis believes in the rule of law and the importance of integrity in our elections. And she's ready to tackle the big cultural and legal issues facing America. This is the Jenna Ellis Show. Here is your host, Jenna Ellis.
Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of the Jenna Ellis Show. I'm Jenna Ellis, and always love to have my Twitter friends on when I get to actually talk to them instead of just direct message. So my good friend Chad Robichaux is on. You probably know him from many other things. He is a United States veteran and has a great new and heartbreaking book out called Saving Aziz. So Chad, thanks so much for joining me today. Yeah, so this whole story is about you going back into Afghanistan to basically save the life of your interpreter amidst everything that happened with the Afghan withdrawal. And this is just something that I think the mainstream media, of course, has manipulated to their own purposes, whether that's pro-Republican, pro-Democrat, anti-Biden, whatever. But the truth really needs to be told. And so what is the basis of this story, and what do you want people to take away from it?
Well, the basis of the story is it's a human story. I mean, it's when the governments of the world don't do the right thing. Throughout history, seen good people stand up in the gap, and that's what this story is. It's a lot bigger than me. We have an amazing group of people that got together to do this rescue operation, and then incredible supporters that have came together. Glenn Beck and Mercury One, and so many of our supporters at Mighty Oaks Foundation. But essentially, what happened was Aziz was my interpreter in Afghanistan for 8 deployments. The reason we worked together in 8 deployments is because we were part of a JSOC task force, a Joint Special Operations Command task force. And my job was an AFO, Advanced Force Operator, which meant I worked by myself in a singleton capacity, going out to build a clandestine infrastructure to put our soldiers on target to capture or kill bad guys. And Aziz was the interpreter that was assigned to me. And spending weeks, months, together by ourselves, we became very close. And he saved my life multiple times, probably every day saved my life. Like, don't walk there, don't talk to that person, don't eat that. If you talk right now, they're going to kill us. Like, so he was, kept me alive, like many interpreters have for their American service members. And when we went back to from operation, I didn't go to him base and he went home. I went to his home. I was there with his oldest son, Mashoud, and Mashoud Al, his daughter was born. So we were very, very close. And we had worked for 6 years to get his special immigrant visa. This is a guy that had been polygraphed, had access to top secret information, worked with special operations for 15 years. And we worked on his special immigrant visa for the 6-year period. And it's a broken system. It's a failed system. So when President Biden announced that he was going to do the withdrawal from Afghanistan, a lot of things went through my mind. One is that I knew it was a terrible idea, and it would be catastrophic for not only America and Afghanistan, but for the global security of the entire planet. So that was one concern, but my immediate concern was Aziz. And so I made a plan to go get Aziz, his wife and 6 kids, because I couldn't leave my friend there. And that plan manifested in this amazing effort of 12 special operations veterans that came together. And God did this most miraculous thing to orchestrate this event that went from us going to save one person to ultimately rescuing 17,000 people.
Wow, that is just an incredible story. And, I think that a lot of people feel like they don't get the truth of what's really going on in the filter of the mainstream media. And especially when everyone was very concerned, especially listening to veterans like yourself and even like former President Trump saying, this is not how we should be doing this. And so what is, in your mind, the biggest lie that the media told in terms of what was actually happening that was inconsistent with their reality?
I think the biggest lie is the lie that we have been in this 20-year war, this endless war, and that somehow we had to get out of Afghanistan. And that lie came from both sides of the media. It came from the White House, and it was told so much. I believe many people, including conservatives, believed that was the right thing to do. We were being told that Americans, sons and daughters were being killed. And the truth is, in 2018, we had stopped actively being in conventional warfare with the Taliban. We were supporting and advising the Afghan National Army and the Afghan National Police in a way that the entire international community was participating. And we were doing that with only 2,500 to 4,000 troops. And it was working. Britain, Germany, Canada, everyone was working at Bagram Air Force Base and working together in this it was actually impressive coalition of international forces to keep the Taliban at bay in the mountains of Afghanistan and make the world a safer place. And so this lie that we had to pull out was completely not only not true, but it's inconsistent with the history of America. And you can look at after World War II, we're still in Japan with 80,000 troops still in Japan since World War II. We still have 40,000 troops in Germany. We still have 35,000 troops in South Korea on the 38th parallel peninsula to be able to protect the North Koreans from coming over. This strategy has always worked for America. And to perpetuate this lie definitely has a alternate agenda, because we literally gave away the most strategic place on the current globe. Between Bagram Air Force Base sits between Iraq, Iran, Russia, and China. And that is the most strategic place on the globe. And now we don't have it anymore. And our enemies have it, and it wasn't ours to give away. This belonged to the international community. We could have, if we didn't want to leave our 2,500 troops there, or 4,000 at the time of the evacuation, we could have given it to Britain or Germany, or even the Afghan government that we put in place for the last 20 years. But the White House didn't talk to any of them. The only people the White House talked about in giving up this base was the Taliban, our enemy of 20 years. And that is a question that I believe needs to be answered, and has never been answered. I haven't heard it answered anywhere. Why would we only negotiate with the enemy and not the Afghan government that we put in, or none of the other international community partners that we were serving with? We abandoned our allies in Afghanistan, and we abandoned the world and gave that strategic location to our enemies. And now because the world's a more dangerous place because of it.
Yeah, and this just didn't make sense to those of us who were hearing from people like you who actually had the insider information and who have had boots on the ground and are military veterans, why the White House would do this. So going back to that moment, you hear that this is what's going on, and you're immediately concerned for the people that including your former interpreter. What happens next, and what was your thought process of how to respond to this travesty?
Well, initially I was like, I have to get Aziz. I put together a team of about 12 former special operations veterans who are obviously out in the military, because the United States military was not allowed to do that. And as we we're putting our plan together to go get Aziz, his wife, and his 6 kids, one of our team members brought up a great point of these 3,500 orphans that were stuck as well. And he said, look at this room, look who we have here. We had some of the most incredible Green Berets, Navy SEALs, Force Recon Marines. We had some former CIA paramilitary officers. We had some incredible experience in the room, and we had the ability and clearly had the heart and passion to help. And so the question was asked, why not just get Aziz his family, these 3,500 orphans. Let's get as many people as we can. Let's get as many Americans, interpreters, their families, women, children, Christians as he persecuted. Let's get as many people as we can. And so we all felt a burden that I believe God put in each of our hearts to do that. And we made a decision to be obedient to that burden. And then the only way to describe, Jenna, what happened next was that we witnessed a miracle, because I'm not capable of pulling this off, by the way. I'm not smart enough or capable, and no one on our team was. When I say we've seen a miracle happen, and I believe God orchestrated this, was we've seen the Joint Chiefs allow us as a nonprofit. We're the only nonprofit allowed to land on HKIA, Hamid Karzai International Airport, that was DOD controlled, and provide civilian evacuations from there. That's pretty much a miracle in itself, and impossible for the Joint Chiefs to allow us to do that. And that was credit to Sarah Verraro, who pulled that together. And then we reached out to the royal family of the United Arab Emirates, because we knew we needed a place to bring people to without visas. You can't move people out of a country into another country without visas. Only in Laredo, Texas, I believe you could do that. But in the real world, you can't do that. So we needed permission to be able to bring people somewhere. And so we contacted the royal family, and within an hour talking to them, they were rolled out the red carpet. They said, bring people here. We'll set up our humanitarian center. We're going to provide doctors and food and everything that's needed if you bring people here. And then the Joint Chiefs also said that they would vet our manifests, so we're not bringing out random people. We're bringing out people that have served us, that do qualify, that are actually that do need to actually be evacuated. So we're having our manifest vetted, so that way when the State Department got there to move people out, they were actually had some good, strong candidates to move out to the United States. I think one of the critiques we got was that we were bringing people out, and we were randomly bringing people to the United States, which is impossible for me to do. I'm not the State Department and can't bring people to the United States. We were only able to evacuate people from that country, put them in a holding pattern for the State Department to do their job, which they didn't do well.
Well, and I'm old enough to remember that, the Biden administration wasn't heavily vetting any of these so-called refugees that were coming into the country. And so it sounds like you were put through a much more rigorous process, and actually being criticized for something that Biden's own State Department wasn't doing anyway.
That's right. I mean, the people we brought were SIV visas, P1, P2, legitimate orphans, those type of people. The people and this is not a hit on the military. They were just doing what they were told. But the people that the DOD flights were flying out they were cracking open the gate. The strongest of the strongest can make it through, which are mostly men. That's why I see mostly men on those planes. They'd force their way through that gate. They'd be loaded on planes without vetting who they were, and flown directly to the United States, where they went onto military bases and were not required to stay there. So they went off loose in their population. So a lot of people were concerned about who was getting the United States, and I was one of them. We were taking a lot of heat for that, but I'm equally concerned who they were. All of our people, to the best of our ability, and we had some very strong processes put in place. We knew who they were, and we brought them to a third-party country where the State Department could have time to fully vet them. And so one more amazing miracle that came was Glenn Beck calls out of the blue and says, I want to do something. I got behind, his microphone, which is his weapon of choice. And he said, I just asked for people for help. And he thought he'd raise a couple of $1,000s. He ended up raising $21 million in 3 days. And over the months, he raised $46 million. But he was like, we don't have any effort going to actually do evacuations, but you guys do. What can we do? And so I said, man, I know exactly what you could do. You can start paying for planes. And so that all happened in 3 days. And so that's why I say it's a miracle, because each of those things were impossible. And if one of those things didn't work, we would not have been able to do what we did. We went to Abu Dhabi, set up our operations center. We had a place in Washington, D.C. set up to process people applying for help. And we put our ground team at HKIA Airport. And in 10 days, we had no idea how much time we had, but we started going outside the wire. Our ground team was literally going outside the wire and getting those people through a very intricate process that we set up, which is, to make sure that we were doing good bona fides, to make sure we had the right people coming through. And then our team in Abu Dhabi was processing the applications, building target packages to rescue people, all stuff that we had the experience to do. And we didn't have any idea how many people we would rescue. And after 10 days of doing that, which by the way was like no sleep on anybody's part, because if you stopped and slept for 5 minutes, you felt like you were trading sleep for somebody's life. My friend Seaspray lost 37 pounds in 10 days going outside the wire doing this. But at the end of that 10 days, the Abbey Gate was blown up. 13 of our service members were killed, and the gates were welded shut. And we had finally had time to pause and tally up. We had rescued 12,000 people at that time. And the United States military was forced to leave. I say forced to leave because they didn't want to leave. And there was this debate whether we had 100 Americans there or 1,000 Americans there. The White House said 100 Americans. So that's the narrative the news went with. I personally, and this isn't even me debating it, on the ground, like there was thousands of Americans still there. And but the fact is, to me, it doesn't matter if there was 1,000 or 100. If there's one American left in enemy territory, the United States government has a responsibility to get that person out, even if it's Joe Bergdahl, that like idiot traitor. Like, we lost American lives to go get him, because that's what we do for American citizens. And that's a promise that the American people should have from our government, that we will do everything it takes to get you out of harm's way. And where I come from, like in the special operations community, like we will literally we will scorch the earth around you to go get you. And so for me and our team, we're watching the military leave, and we're like, hey, they have to leave. We don't have to, and we could choose to stay. And so not everyone involved was like, we will stay until there's no more options left. And we stayed for 2 more months and worked through a place called Mazar Sharif, and worked with a lot of nonprofits. We get a lot of credit for it at the effort we did, but there was a lot of nonprofits involved, all amazing organizations working together. And we got another 5,000 people out, which totaled about 17,000 people. And when that was over, we were like, that we still have to help more. And there was everyone that pushed to a place called the Panjshir Valley, and where Ahmad Massoud's son was leading a resistance. And they were trying to cross into Tajikistan. But if you know the geography there, 25,000 foot mountain peaks, the Taliban had the border infested. The Chinese military were protecting that border. The Russian military was protecting that border. The Tajikistan border guard was there. And so you had all the military threat, including the Taliban. But geographically, if a family made it would take a week to get through those mountains of 25,000 foot peaks, maybe they get to the end and there's a 1,000 foot cliff, or the Panjshir River to cross into Tajikistan's Category 5 rapids. Some places is impossible to pass. The water is ice melt. It's just slushy. If the water stops, it's freezing. So it was impossible for them to pass unless you got information from the other side. So we made a decision to send a 2-man team on the other side and build routes out to provide that information to our government intelligence agencies that wanted that information, to nonprofit organizations, and to those people to help save their lives. And myself and Staff Sergeant Dennis Price, who the Marine Corps, it's all in the book, but the Marine Corps actually, which people cut him loose to come on this humanitarian mission with me, which is not another miracle, because, by the way, the military is not allowed to participate. So the military, it's a whole nother story, but the military allows Staff Sergeant Price to come, and Staff Sergeant Price is, Force Recon Marine, JSOC operator, scout sniper instructor, like incredible human being. He was able to come with me, and the two of us went into Tajikistan and did about 90 miles of border reconnaissance over 10 days. And literally every night we swam into Afghanistan, and sometimes within, yards of the Taliban, and built these routes out so more people could escape. And, we did everything we could until the end, until, our government really stopped us from being able to continue to help. And one of the things, my messages behind this book is praying that everyone knows these truths, so that, one, this will never happen again. Yeah. And two, that our White House will be forced to do the right thing and allow our allies that we have a contractual obligation to, those who served beside us for 20 years, those incredible warriors that are fighting for their freedoms in their country and fought alongside U.S. service members for 20 years, that since we did, in fact, abandon them, that we would at least maintain our contractual obligation to them and help to continue to move them out and give them a passage and right to both come to America.
Yeah, this is just an incredible story, Chad. And as you're expressing that this should be an obligation of America and a promise to, not only our allies and people that served alongside our veterans like you, but especially to American citizens. I mean, I'm getting tears in my eyes just saying this is why this is the greatest country on the face of the earth. And we all love our military, and we so respect you and thank you for your service. And it also makes me so mad at the administration that would be so not just careless, but absolutely have no regard for the lives of the American citizens that were left behind, and for some of our allies like this. And what type of accountability should be brought to the White House, and not just to the Biden administration from these past actions, but moving forward, that would be good for future administrations.
Well, I think this warrants an investigation, a Senate investigation, and because somebody has to be accountable to one, the contractual obligation that we have not fulfilled to our allies, but also to Americans being left behind. The president of the United States gave a date to the Taliban and said we will leave on this date, and then when they went back to negotiate, they cowered from the Taliban and stuck to that date when we never should have gave them a date. I don't agree with the withdrawal as it is, but if you would have had to withdraw, you give terms, not dates. Like, we will leave when we get all of our Americans out, when we get all of our allies out, when we get all of our equipment out. That's when we'll leave. And if you get in the way, we're not leaving. But instead, he gave a date, and that date was held against us by the Taliban, and it cost American lives, it cost civilian lives, and it abandoned Americans there that are still there, by the way, and our allies. 300,000 contractual obligations, 75,000 of our allies that worked as that would qualify for SIV, special immigrant visas, and their family members. And so I think this needs to be invested. We're talking $80 billion in equipment, by the way. And this is like classified equipment. If I lost a pair of night vision goggles, I'd be in jail. But we're leaving, and there's no one that has to answer for this. And we have to. I mean, this isn't. I have had, and I appreciate you having me on, Jenna, because I've had a lot of media outlets turn me down for this story, and my only suspicion is because, one, the White House wants to cover this so bad. My book was at the Pentagon. This book was getting reviewed for 5 months at the Pentagon, which it normally takes 30 days, and it just in time for midterms to miss for this book to launch, and that's why it's coming out now.
Right.
So, there's been a lot of pushback of trying to silence this story, but I'm also had a lot of media outlets saying they're not interested in the story because they're not interested in, they're not pro-immigration. This isn't an immigration issue. This is a national security issue. This is a national security issue because how will we ever, in future wars, have the confidence of the local populace to get behind us and support us on the ground? As a special operations guy and as a military guy, involved in the military my whole life, I know that we cannot win wars in places like Afghanistan without the support of the locals on the ground, like the Afghan allies that we had. How will anybody ever have the confidence to partner with us again when we abandon people like we did in Afghanistan? This is a national security issue, and so I believe people need to be held accountable. The administration does. That isn't a political shot because I'm conservative and I don't like President Biden. It's just what needs to happen. It has to be accountability in our White House.
There should be accountability regardless of whether it's a Republican or Democrat, and that's what it means to be a conservative. So I totally agree, and hopefully this new Republican majority in Congress will conduct some oversight and go back and make some inquiries and have investigations on this particular issue. And from my perspective as someone who's an attorney and also in constitutional law, they're very scared of this being a basis for impeachment. We've been talking over the last few days about all of the classified documents that were found, in Biden's UPenn office. And to me, something like that's more of a custodial dispute, unless there's something else that comes out. That's just a custodial dispute like what we saw at Mar-a-Lago, where they're trying to make this giant felony where it's really not. Something like the withdrawal from Afghanistan and the national security issues and everything that you just said, Chad, that is the impeachable offense. And that's what Congress needs to pursue. Forget about all of these other little bickering political, classified documents, whatever, that happens, custodial dispute. Make sure it follows the process, but things like this that genuinely affected Americans' lives, it affected, all of the things that you're talking about and that you reveal in your book. These are the things that Congress needs to take seriously. And this, in my view, is one of several major bases that a Republican majority should impeach Biden on. So I hope that they do that. And I'm very happy to help you get your story out. I thank you so much for having the courage to tell that story, to tell the truth about what happened. I encourage everybody to go and buy the book, Saving Aziz. It's from Thomas Nelson Publishers. It's available as of January 17th. And the one last thing that I want to ask you as well is about Eagles and Angels, because I know that you were involved with that project as a veteran as well. And actually, my family was out buying a Christmas tree, and my boyfriend noticed, the guy who was helping us noticed his hat and said, hey, that's really great, and asked him if he was a veteran. And he was the one out in Colorado that told us about Eagles and Angels. And when I looked it up, I was like, wait a second, Chad's part of this. So tell us about that program and how that helps veterans.
Well, Eagles and Angels is run by a former special operations veteran named Tom Flanagan, amazing patriot, very one of the unsung heroes of the special operations community in our country, and so he started making these incredible hats that are very high quality. By the way, I always like a good quality hat. But what he does is he takes veterans who have been involved in kind of notable achievements in combat, and he takes their uniforms, and I've done a couple with them, for example. So I have a uniform that I wore in the Marine Corps, and I'll hold the picture up, and we'll get a picture of me with the uniform, either wearing it in combat and then holding it up. He'll take that uniform and cut little squares off of it. I think they're like 2 inch by 3 inch, and he backs them against a leather American flag. So you have the American flags like leather, with the back is a piece of our uniform, and he sews it on hats, and every hat has a tag on it that says who the veteran was, what unit they're served with, and then it has a charity, a veterans or military charity associated with it. And so twice now we've done one that did my Marine Corps uniform, and that Marine Corps uniform went towards the Save Our Allies effort to do this Saving Aziz effort and do the evacuations from Afghanistan. And then while I was out in Afghanistan doing these evacuations, I wore I just had packed, and I pulled out these Hawaiian shirts. So everybody thought I did it on purpose, but I wore these Hawaiian shirts. And so I'm running around and doing these operations with these Hawaiian shirts on, and everyone thought that was cool. So I took these Hawaiian shirts and gave them to Tom, and he made some more hats out of them. And they're sold out. In fact, Tom's hats, if you want to buy one of these hats, you kind of have to watch it. They sell out really quickly. And he does some other things like some belt buckles, and you have to go on their website, Eagles and Angels website. But they do a couple other things. I think I have like this wallet that has the same kind of flag on it. But it's a really cool effort, and it goes to a good cause. And Tom's just he's an incredible guy and a patriot, and he's doing a really good thing with his business. And the hats are awesome.
Amazing. Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much for your dedication to all of these efforts and for being truly a great American hero. And so go to eaglesandangels.com. And yeah, those hats go really quickly. So I was looking for one for my boyfriend for Christmas and only had a couple of options because they do sell out quickly. But go there. It's a great donation effort. And also get the book Saving Aziz from Thomas Nelson Publishers, and I'm sure wherever books are sold. But Chad, thank you so much for your service and for your dedication to God and country. It's people like you that make me so proud to be an American. So thank you so much, and continue to tell your story and tell the truth about what's going on, because the American people need to hear it, and they want to hear it because they stand firm for this great country.
Thank you, Jenna. God bless you.
God bless. Thanks. Legacy Precious Metals is the company that I trust to give you good and patient counsel for investing in your retirement. The Biden administration has caused a financial crisis, and they have no clue how to fix it. Oil prices have skyrocketed, and when oil prices go up, not only do your expenses go up, but the cost of transportation and shipping spikes, leading the prices of goods to rise. And we are already seeing record inflation. That's the last thing that we need. Our economy is in trouble, and you need to take steps to protect yourself. If all your money is tied up in stocks, bonds, and traditional markets, you may be vulnerable. So gold is one of the very best ways to protect your retirement. No matter what happens, you own your own gold. It's real, it's physical, and it's always been valuable since the dawn of time. Call Legacy Precious Metals today at 866-528-1903 or visit them online at legacypminvestments.com. That's legacypminvestments.com, where you can download the free investor's guide. You can also go to my Facebook page, Jenna Ellis. I am a public figure on Facebook. You need to start your retirement account even if you're in your 20s or 30s. There is always a great time to protect your retirement and invest, just like you want to protect your health over the long term. So go to Legacy Precious Metals at legacypminvestments.com or call 866-528-1903. Have you ever picked up a towel set because it felt so soft in the store, but then when you leave and you go to use it, it's not really that absorbent? It's basically a towel that is leaving you out to dry. That's why MyPillow has developed the MyPillow towels, towels that actually work. I know, it's totally mind-blowing. Towels that actually dry you. Their 6-piece towel set includes 2 bath towels, 2 hand towels, and 2 washcloths. They come in a variety of colors. I have the sage green and the white. I love them. And right now you can receive a 6-piece set for only $39.98 with promo code Jenna. That's JENNA. So go to mypillow.com right now and click on the radio listeners special. MyPillow products come with a 10-year warranty and have a 60-day money-back guarantee. So to receive this amazing offer on the 6-piece towel set of MyPillow towels, just go to mypillow.com, click on the radio listener special, and enter promo code Jenna, that's JENNA, or call 1-800-564-8475. That's mypillow.com, promo code Jenna.